Happy Monday, everybody, as the countdown is officially on to St. Louis, T-minus 3 days and a couple of hours, as high noon on Thursday at the Enterprise Center. We'll have our first game at Arch Madness as Southern Illinois and Indiana State will tip off the festivities at noon in the opening round, the opening round game. There in St. Louis. Of course, Murray State, the 7 seed at Arch Madness, will take on Evansville at 6 o'clock. We'll get to all that coming up in just a moment. Yesterday was an interesting day going into the final day of the regular season. Just in terms of there was only 3 spots of the 12 that were officially locked in. We knew Drake was the 1. We knew Belmont was the 4. We knew that Missouri State was going to be the 12. And ironically, the one game that meant nothing yesterday probably had the most drama out of all of them, as Drake hosted Missouri State, final game of the regular season. And I say meant nothing. It meant nothing in terms of the seeding, but it meant everything to Drake, as the Bulldogs still trying to build their resume in the 11th hour right now, trying to have an opportunity to get an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament in case things go sideways in St. Louis for them. And by sideways, I mean most likely needing to go sideways on Sunday. Anything prior to that, at this point, it doesn't look awesome. But it was a grinder, as you know. You're kind of used to that with Drake this season. They just nothing is overly flashy. They're the slowest team in the country, but when you're a surgeon, you need to take your time. You need to. It is remarkable to watch them play. That the eye test in a sliver of time, you're like, what is it with this team? And then you watch the full body of work, and you're like, oh yeah, they are very, very good. But this game, the under 12 timeout, 11:55 left to go in the first half. Your score: Drake 6, Missouri State 5. It was like, holy cow, what do we got going on here? It was a 1-point game at the half. Missouri State then goes on this run. They get up 10 early in the second half, and we're on the call yesterday in Nashville for the Racers and Bruins, and it was like, what is going on in Des Moines? And just kept looking, and Drake got back into it, got back to within 1, and then suddenly it's 5, and you get to 2-3 minutes left, it's 5. You think, is Missouri State really going to do this? They had chances late, missed a couple free throws late. Drake missed some free throws when they had a chance to close. It wasn't really a great solid ending for either team there, but Des White up 58-57, goes 1 of 2 at the line, about 12-13 seconds left, makes it 59-57 at the end of regulation. Bennett Sturts comes down, misses a shot. Missouri State can't get the rebound. Tavion Banks gets the offensive rebound, gets fouled, makes 2 free throws with 9 seconds left. We go to overtime. And then in overtime, Drake's like, okay, we've had enough of this. They didn't let Missouri State score until there was 8 seconds left in overtime. That got us to a 68-60 final there in Des Moines. And that's the thing. This is, again, number 1, a team that is 27-3 against Missouri State, who had 2 conference wins all year, finished 2-18 in the conference. That Missouri State team took Drake to overtime twice this year. Twice. That is why this week in St. Louis could be of just an epic nature. You just do not know what is going to happen. So Drake is at 27-3. Now, again, from an NCAA, from a resume standpoint, when the guys get in the room, they're technically 25-3 because they throw out the 2 non-Division I wins. They are 25-3. The computer metrics just do not like them. Ken Palm has them at 60 this morning. The NCAA net ranking has them at 60 this morning. The folks over at bracketmatrix.com, which again is sort of it's the melding pot of all the online brackets everywhere. I mean, they've got dozens and dozens and dozens, and they kind of throw them all in and spit out just a add them up, and there's your average. They still have them as the number 1 12 seed, which is just not an at-large standpoint. The highest anybody online anywhere right now has them is a 10. If they are not sort of a consensus 10 going into Sunday, it is hard to believe that they're going to have enough from an at-large standpoint, which is, in the end, kind of ridiculous. They have 3 losses. January 1st, they lost on the road at UIC 74-70. 4 days later, they lost at home to the Racers 66-59. February 16th, 2 weeks ago at home against Bradley, who's the number 2 team in the league. They lost basically at the buzzer by 2. They have 3 losses by a total of 13 points this year. 2 of those losses came in a 5-day window back in the first week of January. And you're like, they won 15 of 16. Like, this team's not good enough to be in one of the 68. It just blows my doors off if this is the way we're going to get. So, again, you got to believe they have to lose on Sunday. That means they're 27-4. Like, 27-4 is not good enough. From a top 10 league in the country, 27-4 is not good enough. We will find out if in the end they have to worry about that or if they will cut down the nets in St. Louis. So that was the one game that just kind of had the drama yesterday built around it. The other games that were, from a seeding standpoint that the Racers were paying attention to, Illinois State and Evansville, as the Racers started the day, tied with Illinois State, tied with UIC. There was all these, net ramifications. And could the Racers just get a win yesterday? And then maybe those two lose and the Racers get all the way up to the 5. Spoiler. No, the Racers could not win. And in the end, they didn't get any help from Illinois State or UIC. Illinois State was up 11 at the half against Evansville. Evansville came back to take the lead at one point in the second half. They were within 2 with 2:45 to go, but Illinois State closed on a 7-0 run to win 62-53. So the Redbirds will be the 5 seed. UIC had 5 in double figures. They win at home 77-73 against Valpo. Valpo's a live dog. They are the 11 seed. They're going to play UIC again. That is going to be a rematch just 4 days later. Cooper Schwieger, there are few home run hitters like him in the league. He had 33 points, 18 rebounds yesterday. So between Schwieger and Allwright, they have got some guys that can score in bunches. And so we will see how that shakes out over in St. Louis. Really the main event of the day, which had very little significance on the brackets, but there was some. Bradley and Northern Iowa started the day tied. The winners getting the 2 seed, losers getting the 3. In the end, in Peoria, Bradley gets the win 73-56. Zeke Montgomery had 13. They had 5 in double figures, did Bradley. The biggest piece of news for the day, though, I think, is Leon Bond is back for Northern Iowa. The Virginia transfer had not played since January 25th against Indiana State. He had I guess there was a fear he had torn the patella tendon in his knee. Apparently, it was just a strain, and everything around the UNI program with him was just sort of vague in the last couple of weeks. Like, well, we're not sure. He might be done for the year. We're just going to try to rest it. We don't want to stress it because if he re-injures it, he can, if he come back too soon, he can pop it, and then you got a problem. But he was back yesterday, played 7 minutes, scored 2 points, but he is a weapon for UNI. If he is able to give them really anything in St. Louis, that is a great boost for them coming down the stretch. The first game of the day, which was the one that sort of set the table for things behind the Racers a little bit, was in terms of sort of simplifying some of the tiebreakers for who the Racers would play, which again is Evansville. Indiana State blasted SIU in Terre Haute, 95-77. I mean, they were up pushing 30 at points in this game. Samaj Teal finished with 20. Camp Wagner, who the Racers did a great job bottling up on Tuesday, he refound his shooting stroke, had 6 threes. He had 18 points. So in the end, that game was probably ultimately going to be the one thing that game did was it drove home the fact that Valpo was going to be the 11. In the end, SIU, Indiana State, they're going to play again in the 8-9 game as well. If that game had switched, I think they just switch uniforms, and they're still playing in that 8-9 slot. So, again, the brackets that we have right now. And as we get ready for St. Louis, we had a feeling last night this is where they were going to look, and everybody was waiting for the net to come out this morning, which, of course, the NCAA – I guess they said, hey, let's do a little homework on a Sunday night. And so they fired these out late last night. So what we believe the brackets to be, the brackets are. No surprises thanks to any tiebreakers built in with the net. At the top of the bracket, again, Southern Illinois and Indiana State in a rematch from yesterday. They will play at noon on Thursday. The winner will take on Drake Friday in the quarterfinals. At 2:30 on Friday, Illinois State against Missouri State. The winner there gets Belmont, the 4 seed, on Friday afternoon. Thursday night, 6 o'clock. The Racers will be in the bottom half of this bracket. They will be playing in the night games as long as they can go. here, certainly Thursday, Friday, and then we can get to Saturday. We'll worry about Saturday then. But the first two nights, if the Racers are able to keep playing, they will play in the 6 o'clock slot. It is Evansville on Thursday night. Again, the Racers split with the Aces this season. The 62-60 game back, the first conference game of the year back in December, and then that 78-74 loss at the Ford Center back at the end of January. So the rubber match will go here on Thursday night at 6 o'clock. The winner will get the 2 seed in Bradley, and then the late game is UIC Valpo. And again, Valpo just feels like a live dog there as the 11, the winner to get UNI in the quarterfinals. So just looking at the big picture from the Racers' perspective, you know, again, I'm just a firm believer of it. I just don't think it matters. If there's one team, if there's one team that I was not interested in seeing, and I know there's probably a little recency bias built into it. It's Belmont. The Belmont team has just apparently been a bad matchup for the Racers this year. And outside of the second half, where Murray State really was able to make a push yesterday, Belmont handled the Racers for the first 60 minutes of this series this year. Every other team, the Racers have been able to basically play with or beat this season, and that's why I was like, man, but just not yet on Belmont. Just saw them. Let's try to push them down the line. Other than that, I just don't think it matters. I don't think it matters. You can make arguments the Racers can win every single one of these games, and it's just a matter of, can they come out and play hard? Can they come out and play with just relentless effort? Which, when they play with that effort, that then translates into they played well. And so that is really the hope here for the Racers as we get into St. Louis. You look at the bottom half of the bracket, all those teams the Racers are playing could potentially play on a path to the finals on Sunday. Look, they're 5-5 against everybody in the bottom bracket, but they've beaten Evansville, they've beaten UIC, they've beaten Valpo, they've beaten Northern Iowa, and they took Bradley to overtime, had a chance to beat them in Peoria. The top half of the bracket, the Racers are 4-6 against them, so there's not a big difference, but they've beaten SIU, they've beaten Indiana State, they've beaten Drake, but there's that whole bracket right there: Illinois State, Missouri State, and Belmont. The Racers are 0-4 against those three teams. So just kind of the way it shook out. I just don't believe it matters. This is about the Racers, and it's about what they will bring to the table in St. Louis. And if we can see what we saw yesterday in those 20 minutes, they're going to hang around for a little while. How far they go, obviously nobody knows, but they can hang around for a little while if they can just bring that relentless effort to St. Louis. This week, the schedule. This morning we have the coaches teleconference as everybody will hop on Zooms and talk about their teams. And man, we're just doing our best to play hard, and we're gonna roll the dice and blah 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 from all the coaches. So that'll be this morning. Award season starts on Wednesday morning. They will officially release those. I thought that was tomorrow. It is Wednesday. The all newcomer team and the most improved team and the bench team. Those ballots had to get in yesterday. Today, the all league stuff has to get in, and they will get that released on Wednesday morning. There's no banquet. There's always usually been a big celebratory banquet up there where they give away the Player of the Year award and Coach of the Year and all that stuff. And the Valley is not doing that this year, and a lot of it again is just everybody is bracing for this house settlement and all the money that everybody's just counting their pennies and nickels, and there's no superfluous spending right now until everybody kind of understands what's going on with these lawsuits with the NCAA. So it'll just be a simple release on Wednesday morning with our Player of the Year, Bennett Sturts from Drake. No real surprise there, but other than that, and that's the thing about my vote, as I will put those together at some point today. Bennett Sturts, 100% the Player of the Year. Titan Anderson from Northern Iowa, 100% going to be all first team, all Valley. Other than that, I just don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of really, really, really good players in this league. Those two guys, 100%. 100%. There's a lot of guys. There's a handful of guys that are like 98%. I'm just not fully sure. A guy like Duke Dean, unbelievable player. But he's part of, and it's sort of and I think it might hurt some guys. Guys like Jonathan Pierre at Belmont and Duke Dean. And maybe it won't. Maybe this they're I'm overthinking this, but those teams are so balanced. They have so many good players that it's, I feel like some votes might get split where you're like, I don't know who the best guy on this team is because they've got four really good guys, and that can make things a little complicated for the voting at times. But when I get my ballot put in, we'll certainly post those over at racerbasketball.com. But those announcements will happen on Wednesday morning, and then it's all systems go to St. Louis to get ready for some basketball starting at noon on Thursday. All right, that does it for this Monday morning edition of the RacerBasketball.com Fast Break. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.